sorry to disappoint everybody here. The low-hanging fruit for naming a podcast this week obviously goes to a very popular artist who released an album that may or may not be laden with references to a certain football player, a certain football team, or just football in general. And I didn't name the podcast on that today. So I like to switch things up a little bit, not do exactly what everyone's expecting me to do. But I think we have pretty good content nonetheless because, and again, this seems to happen at least once every year. And those of us who are in eliminator pools know this week incredibly well. It's that week where 80% of the pool gets knocked out because nothing goes as expected. It's the teams that you expect to win by a ton, lose by a ton. The safe losses that you think, okay, there's no way this team wins a game, win and win by a lot. And everything is just all over the place. And as a result, everyone gets knocked out of your eliminator pool. So that happened in the real NFL this week and happened in our league this week. So we are in the Upside Down week. So that is the name of the podcast this week, the Upside Down. And if there's one person that helps keep me right side up when I'm doing these podcasts, it's RJ. And thankfully, he's here again. RJ, how was your weekend?
It was fantastic. I mean, I got to watch the Patriots beat the Bills prime time, so I was more than happy.
Like I said, a couple of things of Upside Down.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and go through the games for the week. I will leave the NFL results to the side there. I think some of those are really obvious that are referred to, like the Saints somehow coming back from 2 touchdowns down to double-digit beat the Giants. Probably not a huge surprise, but the fact that the Saints had that at them was pretty surprising. The Ravens defense, whose front seven seemed to have do a pretty good job of getting pressure on quarterbacks, got completely shellacked by the Texans, who couldn't protect anybody in the first couple of weeks of the season. The Pats going into Orchard Park and beating the Bills, big one, and kind of across the board. There were quite a few just games that we did not expect to end the way they did, and ended up being pretty wild upsets. Plus, of course, DeMarcado doing his best impression of Leon Lett. So, fun weekend all around. But just going through some of the more surprising or at least impactful scores. Jets pulling off a big upset this week in our league over the Browns, 229 to 216. He picks up a much-needed win there. Not that he's really being chased by Patriots, but to improve his standing in terms of what that second or third division winner is going to be. And Browns losing the game on Bengals in the process that he couldn't really afford to lose. In the wild card side of things, Texans and Chargers was a big game. Texans taking the win where his offense finally decided to show up for a week between Gibbs, JCM, Chase, and Smith. He got a pretty good showing out of his offense, which was big. Chargers, even though he acquired a new receiver last week, it still wasn't enough to take the win, but again, still is in a pretty prime position for his wild card spot. In the race to zero, the Broncos, congratulations, pulled a 0-point week. Very impressive whenever you can do that. And Colts putting up 26.2. Really impressive tanking, but we're talking about Bill here. It's tough to beat that while you have players who actually can score points and play actual football on your team. Jags with a pretty well stomping big upset of the Chiefs by about 50 points. Helps him maintain his lead over the Texans in the South. Big loss for the Chiefs as the Raiders pick up a game on him. Playing the Titans, so kind of as expected. Biggest upset, though, probably was the Bears beating the Giants by close to 100 points. 234 to 139. So Bears were looking like a team who was going to be starting to push it in and play the next year. Still dropping 234. And the Giants, who deep in the middle of the wild card race, getting below 150. We are definitely in the upside down with that one. I'm doing it a disservice by not talking about it earlier, but we had two incredibly close games. The Seahawks avoiding the upset to the Falcons by 0.11. Yes, 0.11 points. And I think at one point it was like 0.08 at the end of the game. So that was pretty wild. And then not to be the only game to finish within 2 points, the Saints fending off the Rams 227.96 to 226.62. So a slight 2-point win there, but still pretty intense games down the right there. But look, you had a couple of teams that kind of held serve, and a couple teams that had some scares but held on, and a couple of big upsets. What are your big takeaways from the weekend, RJ?
The Giants scored 139 points. That one shocks me. I know he has a lot of people on bye, but yeah, I didn't expect Giants to get that low. Arizona impressed me with 263. That was a fantastic showing. Is Tampa Bay actually are the Bucs starting to figure it out, putting up 250? I mean, the team that he beat was 1-7 going into it, so didn't necessarily expect San Francisco to beat him, but at least seeing 250 points by Bucs is a positive sign. I thought we would have more clarity in the AFC South, but that still just looks weird. The AFC looks like a race that I wouldn't want any part of, but I've enjoyed that. So yeah, there's been a lot of enjoyable things over this weekend.
No, for sure. Great point about the Cardinals, who now move into what looked to be a 5-horse race at 6-3 for these wild card spots. All wild cards are 6-3, and then the Saints are 6-3 as the current leaders of the South. Bears are now only 3 games behind the Lions in the North, so that's not completely out of reach for him, while Jeremy and I race to the bottom of the division. And yeah, right now it looks like just the Broncos are the only team that are defeated right now. All other teams have at least picked up 1 win on the year. So to nobody's surprise, Bill is in the driver's seat for the first overall pick this year. So a lot of hard work, but he just has to hang on for a couple of these other, air quote, tough matchups coming up.
Yeah. I tip my hat to Bill for being, what are we, 5 weeks into it? He still hasn't broke 100 points.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, to be honest.
It is. Yeah, that's insane.
But that takes a lot of effort.
That division looks crazy.
Yeah, I mean, switching over to the AFC here, you have Bill at 0-9, and everyone else is 6-3. So it's still a full-on race. And the Raiders have now picked up, call it 150 points on the Chiefs in terms of the points for. Now, Chiefs obviously still have the Division 1 loss advantage, which is what has them in first still, but it's much closer. Let's see. Jets still in the driver's seat in East, although 3-game difference in record, but only 43-point difference in result between him and Pats. Just disheartening thing there. Jags and Texans still a game apart. I feel like that's just going to be back and forth all year.
Yeah.
We're moving to the next section of the record here and see if Jags can continue to hang on. And then the North, Bengals picking up the 2-game lead to now 9-0 on the year, and then Browns and Steelers at 7-2. So, we still have our 3 undefeated teams. Browns and Steelers again still in the driver's seat for the wild card. Then it's a question of who in the AFC West is going to be left holding the bag. I don't know, unless do you have a different opinion, RJ? You think either Raiders or Chargers can catch Steelers?
So I do think that they are all roughly on the same level as far as like team composition. They're all capable of that 220, let's call it, a week on average. But I do give the edge to the Steelers. He has the 1 game advantage right now. But he also has a lot of players that are just in it, as far as they'll, like, down the stretch, they'll still be in relevant games. Where Raiders, for example, if Baltimore continues to be terrible, could they just shut Lamar Jackson down early? And then you have to depend on Spencer, and like, how long of a leash does he have?
Basically. Yeah, or I mean, you mean Cooper or?
No, Rattler.
Oh wait, Rattler's in. You're talking about our Raiders. I thought you were talking about the real life.
No. Yeah. I'm doing like comparisons, like these important positions, like the Steelers right now. One of the reasons why I give him an edge is he has Trevor Lawrence, who, like, regardless of how we feel about his capabilities, like, their win-loss records they're going to be playing for probably like seeding towards the end of the season when our playoffs is going on, where like you can expect him to be playing the whole time. Can you say the same about Spencer Rattler? No, because like if the Saints are doing terrible enough, they may just give the rookie a couple of looks.
Yeah, that's true. So it would be fun. It would be fun to see him get a couple of looks, but it would also be fun to see Raiders do the full rotation from, dear God, somebody take Spencer Rattler off my team for anything else that can help me before the season starts, to depending on him, to having to supplement him, maybe even looking at a move involving Lamar. But we'll see.
Potentially. I mean, if he can get back that 1 game on like on the Steelers, and it looks like it's a race between like a realistic 3-team race with all the same records, then yeah, you start making those moves to, hedge your bets for this season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But okay, let's see. So the AFC East is pretty well spoken for. The West is knockdown, drag out. Chargers made a move to acquire, a player for now and the future from me. We'll talk about that in the trade section. Seems to still be looking for another piece that can be for now and the future. I think, he's always had this mindset of he's not going to tank. He's going to get what he sees as value for his pick, and then see how his team goes. So, unfortunately, right now, he's right on that precipice of he's in the wild card race. So teams are going to put him as, at best, a late playoff team, even though he does have a couple of tough games coming up. So it's tough to really get top value for that pick as he may have earlier in the year. But hey, if he gets the right piece or the right veteran receiver or end to help kind of round things out, I mean, that's the tough part here. Like, the pick value he's going to have usually picks up like veterans in places, not necessarily rookies or youth that is disappointing. So it'll be interesting to see how he can spend it, or if he just says screw it and hangs on to it. I don't know. I'm all over the place on this, as you can see.
Yeah. Um, I don't think either option is horrible. I mean, I would probably just lean towards holding on to the pick, just in case it all goes bad.
Well, I mean, the other just pure mathematics side of it, like Titans aren't going to catch him. Colts aren't going to catch him. Dolphins aren't going to catch him. Bills aren't going to catch him. Broncos aren't going to catch him. Jeremy aren't going to catch him. Falcons aren't going to catch him. You're not going to catch him. And 49ers are going to catch him. That's 10 teams right there. So it's not a top 10 pick. So best case, he somehow loses all the rest of his games and it ends up being 12 to 13. More than likely, we're probably talking about 17 or 18.
Yeah, that's fair.
But those all picks have value, especially when we start getting into rookie thirst season, which always happens. But I don't know. That'll be a fun thing to keep an eye on. Anyone else that you're kind of seeing like, all right, it's time for something to happen here in terms of it's time for a move to get made. I know you talked about the Raiders already. Is there anyone else that's kind of jumping to the top of your list of, hey, it's time for this team to make the move?
I think it's any of those teams that are kind of stuck in a battle for first or second in their division. So whichever one we feel like getting into. Cowboys and Giants, both stuck at 6-3. Likely going to be competing for some type of a wild card. What other one is fun? I do like that the Cowboys have kind of gotten in there.
I would say the teams that I'm jumping at here while you're thinking about those.
Sure.
NFC South, the Saints and Panthers. Saints has been trying to buy those, I'll call them cheap veterans who can help him sort of build up without necessarily spending his capital. But again, at some point he may tire of that and decide that it's time to go big boy shopping. But we'll see. But then he has a window here with Trey Benson being out a couple of weeks and Panthers being basically without a running back. So if there was a time to catch up to him, it's now, but would require some major moves here. His, a lot of players on his team, especially his defense, have been overperforming, I'd say, expectation. But now is the time if he's going to make the move.
Yeah, I can agree with that. He's pretty safe at linebacker. He has a pretty consistent group with Roquan and Ernest Jones. But the rest of his defense does feel a little volatile, like just inconsistent players. Good players, but inconsistent. Paulson's a great example. Fantastic start in the first two games and then starts to fall off. But I think the takeaway for both of the teams, Panthers and Saints, they need a running back. Like they're doing this well while getting, what did Taj Brooks? Taj Brooks had 0, and Craig Reynolds had 2 points. So the Saints had 2 points at running back on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, compare that to like Lions, who has now, I guess, a starting running back on his taxi squad. He's already been claimed. Don't rush the squad, guys. But still, yeah, it's a weird makeup this season right now.
Panthers had 4.2 points at running back, and they played against a team that had 3 players in 13, 14, 15 points. So,
yeah, I mean, one way it's like, dude, just translate some of that value into value somewhere else to get your team balanced better. But at some point, it is a competitive advantage that, hey, I have the points and you don't.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Go buy. I understand that the position is kind of shallow, and you get like 22 deep, and then you're probably talking about guys that have scored single digits on the season. But I might be exaggerating with that exact number. Um, but it's a shallow position, but you have to buy something. You can't be putting up twos. You can't be hoping that your special teams guys get a whole bunch of tackles.
Yeah, I mean those players by definition are upside. If I get to double digit points, that's great. Usually they're also higher floors to not get zeros every week, but you're not exactly asking for those guys to be consistent contributors, except for like the one or two every season that are. All right. I don't know. Anything else? Kind of looking at where teams are standing right now.
No, I think we're starting to get a real good idea of. I mean, we're basically halfway through the season, so we should have an idea of how the season's going to go. But I think we have a really good idea of how the playoffs are, and now everybody should be making a very big push to position themselves correctly.
I would agree with that. All right, let's talk about the fun part. Let's talk about some trades. I'm going to go with 22 because I can't remember if we talked about the Madubuike trade on last week's podcast. It was right kind of at that threshold of is it on pod or post pod? So if this is a repeat, forgive me, but 22 is again a pretty solid number too. So Chargers moving recently acquired Nnamdi Madubuike to Broncos, who are of course looking for players to put on their IR. In return, he gets the Cowboys second and the Chargers fourth for 2026. Not bad, especially for a cost-controlled vet but still young D tackle.
Yep. Yeah, I like it. We're seeing more and more of the pass rush focused interior linemen, but he's one of that like top echelon where you can understand paying like a second, sometimes even a first for. So I like the deal. I fully expect him to come back next year and be just as good as he's been.
Yep. Let's see. Bill continues buying, getting Dre Greenlaw from the Saints for my 27 second round pick. I was surprised by this. Saints has been a big believer and a big lover of Dre Greenlaw. I know he's been injured to start the year, but I was surprised to see it go here. But it's probably about the right value if you assume I'm going to be around the same spot next year as I am this year. But I love Greenlaw. I would love to see him get healthy.
Yeah, no, I think this was a fine purchase. I do somewhat agree with Saints getting rid of him. Just you can get some type of value, and like you can go shopping and buy a position of need. I've already said on tonight he has a very stable linebacking core, so get rid of Greenlaw while he's worth something. I don't know. Was there ever an expectation of him playing this year?
I think so. I think that was why he got the contract he did from the Broncos. But again, he was out he injures his Achilles running onto the field in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and then misses all of last year, and then again, that injury, you'd expect him to be recovered and able to play by early this year for as long as he'd been out, but he seems to still be having trouble getting back on the field.
Okay, well, that's unfortunate. He's a good player, so I hope he takes enough time to where when he comes back, he's the same player that he once was.
Yeah, I mean that's once at full strength with him, with Hufanga, yeah, and then
Tanaloa Hafunga.
Hufanga, and then Sertan and everything else. That could be a heck of a defense when at full strength. They're just not at full strength right now. You get your first back. The Eagles getting his 26 first back, as well as a fourth, and the Jets 27 second for Cardinals first in 27 and Pats first in 27. So two firsts in 27 for 26 first, 26 fourth, and a 27 second. And again, it feels like Bill is trying to target that 27 draft anyway. Obviously, he has plenty of capital in 26. But if you look at, Arch Manning probably not coming out this year. Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, plenty of these, big names we've been drooling over in the Devy world the last couple of years. It makes sense to start just kind of stockpiling those picks. So Bill is doing it in force and taking advantage of one of us not doing so great this year to continue to do so.
Yep. I said it before. I wasn't necessarily looking to pick up my first, but what do I have? 2 wins so far. So yeah, at this point, maybe I should probably consider if I can get it back for any reasonable price. Like, it's not too bad. I have control of it, or like I have control of my record. So, now I can just position myself for, I don't know, a top 10 pick, I would imagine, somewhere in that range. Definitely not getting first, or second or third.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're in the hunt, though.
I get a decent pick. I don't give up my 27, so regardless of what I do next year, I'm still pretty safe. So I think that was a fine value.
Yep. Then Saints is at it again, trading a 27th third for Panthers for Jaquan Brisker from the Cardinals. Then trading one of his previous safeties, Andrew Wingard, who's been a good kind of fill-in safety, to the Panthers for a fifth. Then buying Alex Singleton from the Giants for Tampa's 26th third. So, again, everyone buying and selling in a market where some you expect to buy, some you don't be expecting to buy.
Yeah, I like the pickups by Saints. I think Brisker and Singleton are fantastic pickups. I agree with moving Wingard. I don't know. Every year it seems like this guy, like he's a second string safety in Jacksonville, and then he beats out whoever they bring in, and it just happens every year. So just get some type of value. He'll be productive for the rest of the year. But it's a $5 million safety, so get what you can for him.
Yep. Colts moving Mike Hughes for Mark Robinson, Elijah Jones, and a fifth. And then Garrett Wilson moving off my team again. I think he is up there with the most owned players I've had the last couple of years. So one way that happens is if I keep treating them too, goes to Chargers for Kyle Williams, Nolan Smith, and Houston's 26 first back. Buying low on Kyle Williams, who was a bit of a darling before the season started, but hasn't really seen the field much in New England. Nolan Smith's injured, so continues to help me stockpile my injured players for next year. And then the Texans first. It's a weird pick to value. If he makes the playoffs, it's in the 20s. If he misses the playoffs, it's probably in the low teens. So it's, again, tough to really put a peg on it. And I hope I'm not talking inside baseball here. I don't think Chargers will care. At one point, it was a question of, do I want Texans first or I want Chargers first in this deal? And I wasn't sure because Chargers has, had 3 games on them. Now it's 2. And it was going to be tough for him to make up that win-loss. But Texans has a real shot to win his division. I mean, Chargers does too. But, what's the more valuable piece there? So it's fun having things. But he gets Garrett Wilson. Again, good piece for this year, good piece for long term, and I get a bunch of things to help me with my quote rebuild.
Yep, I think you made the right choice with the first round pick, because I do think Texans, it's win the division or bust, whereas the Chargers, there's definitely a possibility where he's one of the ones that sneaks in as a wild card. I like the Nolan Smith pickup along with it. I don't know what some of these like young Philly players are worth, but I feel like he's, whatever it is, it's undervalued. So I think it was fantastic, and I think getting Garrett Wilson's, Chargers should be thrilled. He only gave up one first.
Yeah, in terms of pick form, I agree.
Right.
Player form, I have values on those players that would push it above that second first. But yeah,
I agree. But you can convince yourself that it was only one future asset and things that weren't necessarily impacting your score box, the score box right now.
Yeah, and frankly, it's a conversion if nothing else. Like Garrett is a premium asset who continues to gain value because he's putting up about 20 points a week right now. You may have to extend him before he qualifies for the Pro Bowl this year if that's where he's going. But he has the value, he has the contract space to go do that. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Helping him continue to pick up pieces, he also gives the Cowboys 26 second to the Packers for Bobby Wagner, D. Alford, and the Tennessee fourth. Wagner definitely looks like a player who can still help a team who needs points at the linebacker position. Been double digits every single week. It's a question of how much longer can he keep it up at 35, but definitely helping right now. And then getting D. Alford a fourth in there as well, help kind of round out and insulate the value. But Cowboys is in the wild card race in the NFC, so is that a playoff second? Is it a close to playoff second? Like that again, that value seems pretty close.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fantastic deal. For Chargers, buying something like that productive for a second round pick, awesome. When you buy Bobby Wagner, I think the past like 5 years, whenever somebody bought Bobby Wagner, like they didn't have expectations of having him for more than a year or two. And this price definitely, shows that. But I think it's fine. I think it's a good time for Packers to get off of Wagner before, he's just worth nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, he's been trying to for a while, but Jeremy has shown good patience to make sure he's getting the value he thinks he should be getting. Giants in my every couple week blockbuster. Neighbors, of course, going down, tearing his ACL, left him with a bit of a hole receiver. So I was able to move in and grab Neighbors, Jalix Hunt, and Kwity Paye for BTJ and Abdul Carter. So again, he gets his Abdul Carter generational pass rusher for the Giants, which he loves to collect, and BTJ to replace Malik Neighbors. Again, I add another piece that goes on IR in Neighbors. That should be fine for next year. And then Jalix Hunt was really the end I was most interested in. I think everyone saw this and saw that I was getting Kwity back and thought, oh my God, Mike's obsessed with Kwity again. Kwity's getting the most snaps, or tied for the most snaps in Indy right now. So that's nice. But, well, they're continuing to move him all over the line and not necessarily featuring him in a spot where he can consistently get those sacks. The numbers have been down. So at some point, things will settle down and he will get his numbers back up. But it's been a disappointing start to the season right now. But hey, if it continues to disappoint, I can always renegotiate it next year.
Yep. Yeah, I hate it all around the board. Not really, but
You hate things going to your division. I get it.
Yeah. I hate seeing premium assets come into the division. So healthy ones, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get to watch, and I'll just sit back and watch and see if BTGA turns it around. I hope he does. I hope a little bit less so now that he's in my division. But no, I think
Yeah,
it's
I'm not sure what to think of him right now, to be honest.
yeah, it's interesting. I think in Jacksonville they're just learning how to play winning football, and how not everybody has to be like a monster statistically. So, and as a fantasy community, we're just disappointed with them trying to figure that out.
Yep, we were hoping for the Liam Cohen that was going to come in and make Travis Etienne and Vishal Tootin and BTJ and Travis Hunter all fantasy stars, because that's what happened with the Buccaneers last year.
Right. And it might happen, but if it doesn't, they're still playing good football.
Yep. Giants moving that 26th third from of the Buccaneers that he got from Saints for Carl Brooks, Justin Eboije, and the Colts 27th third. So what's likely a mid third this year for likely an early third the following year and two other players. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. It's a win-win because he's getting points off his team, but Colt seems to be pretty adept at finding these D tackles and flipping them. He got good value in his trade with May, but I feel like he probably could have gotten a little bit more, especially the way that Boyer's been playing for the Chargers.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. 14 and 18 points. Yeah, that's a good pickup.
Granted, it was after the 14 point that he moved him. Like if it was, hey, it's 14, and then you're definitely getting 18 the next week. Like, yeah, of course, this makes a lot more sense.
Right. But I think it's a good pickup. Good move for Colts to get those points off of his team.
Jonathan Allen moving to the Browns for a pick upgrade, and some other pieces that could be worth something but aren't quite there yet right now. Jabril Peppers got signed but really hasn't done much for the Steelers. And then Adam Thielen, same thing. Big pickup for Minnesota, or at least they thought to be, but hasn't quite shown up to be that yet. So that's where we are there. Cordell Flott for Ugo Amadi and a fourth. Punter Swamp, I'm not going to do anything with. Jalen Hyatt and a third for DJ Giddens. Giants gets to acquire more Giants players, especially receivers. That's what he loves. And picks up a pick in the process. And Giddens has been spelling Jonathan Taylor all year, so it's a good pickup in terms of controlling the backfield for the Jets. Next couple of trades I really liked for Dolphins. Moving off Juwan Johnson for the Jets 27th third feels a little light, but at the end of the day, he's a $21 million 1 year tight end. It's hard to ask for a premium for that, despite his progress so far. Granted, Taysom Hill just got reactivated. Foster Moreau just got reactivated. So it'll be interesting to see if he maintains the snap count and the target share that's gotten him these points to begin with. But, like I said, it was a tough price point to look at initially, but the more I look at it, the more I can get my head around it.
Yeah, I like the pickup of Johnson for Giants. I do expect the snap count to go down, but they kind of built that. They use the tight end that's on the field for what they need at the time. So just splitting between Moreau, Taysom, Juwan Johnson, like he'll lose some snaps, but he's the only one that they view as like, stretching the field like an actual vertical pass catcher. Moreau is short yardage, and Taysom Hill's a gadget guy at best. So Yeah, I think his role's still there. He just won't see the field as much.
Yep.
Did you?
Giants sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Giants dumping Joshua Williams on the Packers. Dolphins, Michael Carter for Cam Taylor-Britt and a fourth. Again, it's one of those where the timing of it, you'd hope that more would be exchanged, but at the end of the day, Michael Carter is a waiver pickup basically, and getting a fourth for that is not a terrible thing. And then Cam Taylor-Britt was a Pro Bowler last year, obviously not so much this year. So again, it's one of those that at first sticker shock, but you eventually get there. Again, the problem now becomes, because he was a Pro Bowler last year, you can't really trade extend Cam Taylor-Britt. So what do you do with him, especially in a team that's building for the future? It's a less than $1 million cap dump.
Right. Yeah, no, my first reaction is I loved it for Dolphins, but now after looking at that, I didn't know Cam Taylor-Britt's role had diminished so much. I think it's a fantastic pickup for Chiefs.
Yeah, paid off for him already, almost 20 points last week. Giants and Panthers, Logan Wilson for Akadim Muhammad. So both the linebackers that came from the Bills are now off of the Giants as he continues to sort of move things around to cover where injuries have hit him so far this year. Then moving into this week, the Broncos move quickly to secure the Minnesota kicker and punter so that he did not get points from his kicker or punter this week. And then Dolphins continuing his trading spree, Hassan Haskins and a fourth for Jackson Dawes and a third. So Chiefs continuing to pick up running backs on the cheap, and Dolphins improving his draft capital in the process. So everyone's doing what they want to be doing. So it's perfect.
Yeah. Another good pickup by Chiefs. Gets another starting running back.
And that's 22 trades. Not a whole lot of taxi claims to process in there. So very few sort of one-way deals, but a lot of smaller deals around the edges to complement some of the bigger deals that we always tend to have throughout the week. So a good balance. Going into this week, I expect probably a few more big trades to be happening. It feels like there's a lot of sellers on the market right now. And again, Bill's already talked about it, but a lot of the capital's already been consolidated to do some of that buying. So the teams that still have things to buy with have to be a little bit more, I'll call it, picky in their buying. And I think a couple of teams are waiting just to kind of see where am I really going to be in terms of how I'm performing before I push things in or start to sell prematurely. All right. So about 45 minutes. I think that's probably fine for this week. I mean, there's two of us, and it's not the deadline yet. We'll obviously feature that when the time comes. But again, it's just good to get on here and give the updates on what's going on. Good to see some pretty major upsets, and we'll see how teams pivot from that, and some really tight races continue to stay tight.
Yep. A little bit less than a month.
Sorry, RJ, go ahead.
Nope, a little bit less than a month before trade deadline. So start making the moves now.
Getting ready to pivot. I love it. So appreciate you guys listening, and keep active out there because it's a lot of fun to talk through these trades. If it's going to be these kind of contents or lighter loads, maybe we'll spend a little bit more time on some of these trades than we have been. But it's great to kind of see in the teens or double digit or 20 plus trades every single week. It makes it a lot more fun for us. So thanks for doing things on your end, RJ. As always, thanks for joining, and good luck this week. Stay active, and these races are going to start to separate here. I have a feeling.